On Tech News Today, Reddit mods nearly shut down the site in a massive protest. Plus, Google Glass returns, and we'll tell you about two industry CEOs and their profanity-laden Twitter shoutfest. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, July 3rd, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you all the ingredients to cook fresh, delicious meals with simple step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 2 meals free by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's blueapron.com/twit. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Welcome to the show. My name is Mike Elgin. Christina Warren is off today for the big holiday, but we are here on a national holiday, sort of, almost, doing the news just for you because we know that you can't get through Friday without Tech News Today. Why don't we jump right into the news? As we reported on yesterday's Tech News Tonight, Reddit moderators are protesting the removal of a Reddit employee by changing the status of their subreddits to private, which means the public can't get access to them. The overall effect of the protest is to partially shut the site down. Forbes contributor Paul Tassi joins us now to talk about it. Welcome to you, Paul Tassi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. I really appreciate it. Now, who is this employee that caused so much trouble by leaving Reddit?
Victoria Taylor was the director of communications, and she had a pretty pivotal role in coordinating their AMAs, which is Reddit's way of interviewing celebrities and other public figures. She helped coordinate that, and without her, the whole system kind of collapsed, and that's kind of sparked the whole rebellion.
Her nickname is Tudor. Do you have any intel on why people call her Tudor?
I cannot figure that one out. I don't have any special intel there.
All right. Now, this came right in the wake of a very awkward AMA with Jesse Jackson. Do you think that this was in any way related to the Jesse Jackson AMA?
I really don't. I've heard some people mention that, and that was a really awful AMA, but to be fair, there have been plenty of high-profile, terrible AMAs, and I think it was just kind of coincidental timing. I've heard Reddit people come out and say it didn't have to do with the Jesse Jackson AMA, but it's kind of a stretch to think that was the reason this happened. I really don't think it has anything to do with it.
And here's a pro tip for you Jesse Jacksons out there who jump into an AMA unprepared. If you're going to do a Reddit AMA, you have to, number one, be honest. Number two, you have to do it yourself. You can't hire an intern to do your answers for you. And you have to take it seriously and expect some hardball questions, because that's what an AMA is all about. So just my little pro tip there. Now, is this, okay, let's set Jesse Jackson aside and the AMA aside. Was this related in any way, do you think, to the unhappiness on Reddit in general with interim CEO Ellen Pao, or to the censorship that was recently sort of enacted at Reddit?
When this all started, I probably would have said no, but now seeing as how the reactions kind of evolved, a lot of it has been very focused on her, and I've seen a lot of direct rebellion against her specifically. So I would say that even if it wasn't the exact jumping off point, I think it has a lot to do with kind of this lingering frustration with her tenure as, head of the site, and I think some of that anger from past events is definitely spilling over into this.
Now, what do you suppose the feeling is about Ellen Pao, who's some people refer to her on Reddit as Chairman Pao? And is there a feeling that she's not really a member of the community somehow, or that she's kind of an outsider brought in? I mean, she's best known for filing a gender discrimination lawsuit against a prominent venture capital firm. So she comes from the venture capital. She's a venture capitalist, basically, who came in to sort of run Reddit, which is a kind of scrappy, moderator-controlled, clearly, site that is really pushes the boundaries of free speech. Do you think that that whether or not this is related to unhappiness with Ellen Pao, what do you think her general standing is? Does she have supporters on Reddit?
It's such a big community. I have to imagine she does have supporters on Reddit, but often the people that are the angriest are the loudest, so you may not hear nearly as much from her supporters as you do her detractors. Her time there's been really controversial, and she's oversaw, the banning of all these different, hateful subreddits, and I think a lot of that has kind of rubbed the community the wrong way. Not that it should not have been done. I fully support her decision to do that personally, but I think it's really upset kind of the long-standing members of the community who do kind of view her as an outsider coming in and trying to shake everything up. But to be fair, Reddit's had kind of a long history of problems with authorities, so I don't know if that's an entirely new situation for them.
Now, of course, Reddit has approximately 1 gazillion subreddits. They just on every topic you can imagine. And so if a few of those are shut down, it's not really a big deal unless they are the major ones. Can you give us some kind of sense of how major the protest subreddits have been? In other words, how much of the traffic has been essentially stymied by this move by the moderators?
It's hard to know in terms of direct traffic count, but if you're just counting front page subreddits, like more and more keep being added, like really big ones, like Our Funny, I think was the biggest one that got shut down. Our gaming, our videos, our movies, our television, like our AMA, obviously. And all of those, add up to a significant chunk of the site. So now when you go to the front page, it's full of pretty much just all pictures from our pics and a bunch of more obscure subreddits because all the other default ones are gone. So it's really kind of changed the whole feel of the site. Like there's always content to replace it with when you sub out a specific Reddit, but now it's kind of like a mess. And obviously the front page is kind of taken over with this story entirely. So it's Reddit's way of rebelling by just filling the front page with all of that.
Including with pictures of Victoria Taylor, and she's actually becoming very famous in all this. Now that she's no longer working at Reddit, she should have no trouble finding a job or having been heard of, because she's, again, becoming something of an internet celebrity this week. Now, this is a really interesting case in which moderators, who are really, they're unpaid, they're essentially active users or super users or whatever you want to call them, they can shut down the site, basically. They can damage the company financially. Do Reddit moderators have too much power, or is the power of moderators part of the charm and value of Reddit? What's your opinion on that?
I think without the currently existing system of volunteer moderators, the site probably wouldn't have risen to become anywhere near what it is today. With that said, you yourself as Reddit have created the situation where if you do something that upsets enough of your moderators, you've given them power over you to essentially, kill the site temporarily or possibly permanently if they really, threaten enough. And we haven't really seen this happen before, so it's kind of uncharted territory as to what happens next. But the problem is you can't, if you just come in and start imposing all these draconian rules and like take moderation out of their hands, and you'll see a mass exodus of users. And like Reddit keeps citing Dig as like, Dig went to V4 and everyone left. And now some are saying that this is Reddit's, similar moment where that might be a bit of an overreaction. But, it's a real threat where these moderators have that much power where they can shut down, half the major subreddits of the site just when something happens they don't disagree with. And like this is a particularly kind of confusing issue too. It's not really that cut and dry, yet they're doing it anyway. So it's pretty fascinating.
It really is. And you mentioned the size or the success of Reddit. They have something like 160 million monthly visitors, which is pretty huge. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of monthly visitors. And of course, we have our own subreddit on Reddit. It's technewstoday.reddit.com. And if you are interested, you can go there, where I am a moderator, and we haven't shut that one down yet, but maybe we will. What the heck? Paul Tassi is at Forbes.com. And you can follow him on Twitter at Paul Tassi. Tassi is spelled T-A-S-S-I. Thank you so much for joining us today, Paul.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We got some more news for you coming right up, but first I want to talk about Blue Apron. Blue Apron is an awesome way to get some really good food on your table because you're going to make it yourself using their ingredients and their instructions. They have really high-quality professional chefs and a whole team that can take the wisdom and knowledge of really great cooks and chefs and teach you very quickly how to make these meals in like half an hour, maybe a little over half an hour. Each meal is 500 to 700 calories per serving. They even have, if you're not sure about certain things, like they'll throw around some kitchen lingo. And if you're not familiar with some of the techniques that they offer, you can go to their site and check out their how-to videos. These are quick cooking tutorials. They'll teach you how to mince and chop and caramelize. If you don't know how to caramelize, you got to know how to caramelize. Life is short. You got to know how to caramelize something. And so they'll teach you how to do that with these great videos. And that's one of the benefits of Blue Apron. In addition to having great food that's way less expensive and way tastier than anything you're going to find in a restaurant, they're going to teach you how to cook, because after you've made these things, you'll know how to do many of the techniques. So after 3, 4, 5 Blue Apron meals, you're gonna greatly enhance your ability to cook even without Blue Apron, just on your own. And that's one of the great benefits. Blue Apron is a better way to cook. Check out this week's menu and get your first 2 meals free. That's right, 2 free meals by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's right, 2 meals for just for going to blueapron.com/twit. And we thank Blue Apron for their support of Tech News Today. And I thank Blue Apron for this amazing chicken dish that I made the other night. Unbelievable. Got to try Blue Apron. Great stuff. Casio, which traditionally makes very rugged and very dumb G-Shock wristwatches, plans to release a smartwatch in March. Tim Sapala is an associate editor for Engadget. Welcome to you, Timothy.
Hey, how's it going, Mike?
Good. I munged your name. You told me before the show, but what is your last name? How do you pronounce that again?
Sepala. It's
Sepala.
Finnish, like Nokia.
Okay. Okay. That's a good mnemonic there. Now, what did Casio CEO Kazuhiro Kashio, see, I said his name, fine. What did the CEO say about the pricing of this watch?
They said they wanted it to be on the more affordable end, and it's going to be tentatively at $400. He also said that they want to hit 80 million in sales, which is, maybe that can happen. I'm not ruling anything out, but it's nice to want things. I don't know that they can do it, but Casio's been around forever, so maybe they could. Yeah.
Now, did he spill any other details about the watch besides the price? Did he give an indication, for example, whether it would be ruggedized like their G-Shock watches are?
I'm not really seeing anything. Wall Street Journal originally reported the story, and we picked it up, and they didn't really say anything. He said that he thinks they have what it takes to succeed in the sector, because they have a history of doing things like packing all kinds of features into watches that do more than just tell time. And there really wasn't any talk about features, or not features, but the styling that I could tell.
Yeah, I mean, if we use the past of the G-Shock line as a guide, I think we can expect that these smartwatches are going to have probably black and white displays, which will give them great battery life. I think that would be a great feature. We also know that they pack in all kinds of features. They have barometers and all kinds of things. So the watch itself may have some sensors on it, but it also might get some of its functionality from a nearby smartphone. I would guess that Casio would support both Android and iOS. But again, this is all guesswork. We really don't know. The reason this is an important story, I think, is that Casio is a super popular brand for watches. These G-Shock watches have incredible, huge fan bases around the world. Do you have any indication about how big the G-Shock fan base is?
No, I know that they've been around forever, though. That's the thing. Like, it's been impressive to see them stick around with that for so long. I like watches. I've never owned a Casio G-Shock because they were, when I was younger, when they were really, really popular, they were too expensive for me. And now I just have more kind of jewelry style watches. But I know that they're very popular, they're very rugged, and they're very, they're hard to kill. So it wouldn't surprise me if Casio could do something like that, similar with their smartwatch.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, and I wouldn't mind having one if it's the right kind of watch. They tend to be big and bulky, and I think there's a place in the market for that as the rest of the industry tries to follow Apple down the kind of small, smooth, and sort of, I guess, urban look, whatever you want to call it. They can go for the outdoorsy sort of, waterproof market, end of the smartwatch market, which I think would be great. Timothy Sepala is at Engadget.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Tim Sepala. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tim.
Thanks for having me on, Mike.
Well, a blogger for Droid Life spotted a mystery product from Google seeking approval from the FCC. The product is categorized as a smartphone or wearable. It's in the general category of smartphone or wearable, and has the model name GG1, which appears likely to refer to the first commercially available version of Google Glass. Sketchy details about the hardware and a screenshot from the software support the Google Glass theory. And one of the things that's interesting about this, of course, Google said absolutely that they would be coming out with a productized version of Google Glass. The tech media echo chamber, who didn't ever like Google Glass, has been claiming falsely that Google killed or silenced the product or basically, you know, phased it out. That's not what Google said, and there's no evidence to the contrary. We also heard that Luxottica, which is the huge monopoly that owns most of the glasses and sunglasses brands that you've heard of, would be coming out with a Google Glass product as well. So that's, I think, the most interesting thing about this is that in addition to Luxottica, it looks like Google itself might be making a Google Glass. So very cool. Well, in a follow-up, Microsoft announced earlier in the year that Windows 10 would launch on July 29th. Then we learned that only the desktop version would launch that day, not the mobile, Xbox, HoloLens, and other versions. Now, Microsoft honcho Terry Myerson announced in a blog post that Windows 10 will have a staggered rollout and that most users won't actually be able to get the software on the 29th. Only so-called Windows insiders, which we can assume means beta testers, will get it on that day. So, you know, Microsoft really struggles with clear messaging. They have confusing messaging around how much it costs, and now they have a confusing message about when it's coming out. I wish they would learn their lesson and just be clear about this stuff and say, here's the price and here's when it ships. I think they would greatly benefit from that. Just my 2 cents. 2 cents is not the price, by the way, of Windows 10. It's going to be much more than that. Uber suspended its Uber Pop service in France today, according to an interview published in the French publication Le Monde with Uber's head of operations in France. Uber had resisted calls to ban the service for a year, including a lawsuit, which they've appealed. That's kind of a lawsuit. Earlier this week, 2 Uber France executives were arrested and charged with operating an illegal taxi service. This came in the wake of a nationwide strike against Uber in the country's taxi unions. The suspension of service is not a result of the legal dispute, according to Uber, but out of fear for the safety of drivers and passengers who have been attacked recently by taxi drivers in France. I think the scariest thing that a French taxi driver can do, by the way, is drive you around Paris. I've been there. I'd rather be attacked. In news you can lose, the CEOs of Sprint and T-Mobile got into a juvenile shout-fest with each other on Twitter yesterday. It started when T-Mobile chief John Laguerre slammed Sprint for failing to simplify their carrier bills, linking to a Recode article suggesting their failure. Then Sprint CEO Marcelo Claure responded with the following incomplete thought. Quote, I am so tired of your uncarrier BS. I'm abbreviating it. He didn't say BS. Oh, when you're worse than the other 2 carriers together. Your cheap, misleading lease. And then the tweet ended. Apparently there was more to it that didn't make it into the tweet, to which Laguerre replied, you mad, bro? Another Laguerre tweet said, quote, isn't it cute that Marcelo's been following me on Twitter since joining? Now he's starting to sound like me to get attention, and it's working, unquote. Great. Just great. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Brian Lewis in St. Louis, Missouri, who says he doesn't just watch TNT, he watches it. Let's take a look at his video. And there's the show playing on his Android Wear. That is a Moto 360. And there it is. There's a lot of people doing video on Android Wear these days. A lot of ways to do it. Anyway, very, very cool. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup or your arm and post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. And use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT so we can find it. You can subscribe to Tech News Today by going to twit.tv/TNT. And you can also watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1700 UTC at twit.tv/live. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/TechNewsTodayTV. And you can follow me on all the social networks at elgin.com. Don't miss Tech News Tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific every single weeknight. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tech News Today. This show is produced by Jason Cleanthes and edited by Victor Bognot. My name is Mike Elgin. I want to wish all of you Americans out there a happy 4th of July weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you Monday.